All right, so looking at gold here, it's been a big week already. So pretty bullish this week. This was Monday, big day. I did have an entry right here and it never filled, so completely missed it. But looking at it for the rest of this week and then into next week, you can just see that it is definitely retracing. It's bearish now, it's below this moving average, and you can see I looked at the dollar index before, and it pushed up so high, which is why gold's pushed down so much, and now it's the dollar index is selling off a little bit, so that means gold will come up a little bit. So looking at this, I do think it's going to keep retracing. I do think it's still got a little bit left to go in the week. Today is Wednesday, and New York hasn't even opened yet. Still got about an hour and a bit before it opens, so plenty of time in the week for this to keep moving up to I think it's going to hit about 1882-ish, and if we throw on these pivot points, you can see there's a pivot point right here, 1882. So yeah, it's bang on. I looked at it earlier. So I do think it's going to continue up, hit this 50% zone between 50% and 618, and then looking to continue selling it. So this is your main area of resistance here. So again, right at this pivot point, so it's another confirmation. You can see it's still very bullish, right? Like Monday's open, Tuesday, you know, tiny baby pullback candle. Today, obviously, still full, you know, full bull candle. There is a little bit of a zone here. So what could happen is, and I do think it's still going to push in this 1882 area, but if it for the rest of the week, if it doesn't break through this zone, then I would say it's probably going to start selling off. Obviously, you got to wait for the right price action next week, but if it doesn't hit this 1882 level and it just starts filling in this area for the rest of the week, I mean, you can see it's already touching it actually. So if it continues just to fill this in for the rest of the week, then I'd be looking for a possible sell next week, and I would consider that a full retracement. But odds are it will hit 1882 and start to sell off in this area here. But so as far as like any sort of trade entries, it's breaking this R1 on or this R2 on the 4 level or the 4-hour level. So it's finding its support here. This was once resistance, it is now becoming support. So odds are the next step is this 1882 daily pivot point. So this is really your trade here, right to 1882, something like that. I do think that's how the day is going to finish. We'll go like this. If you're looking for a sort of just a daily trade right to tomorrow, Thursday here, something like this, I could see playing off really well. The only thing is that for as far as daily range, gold only has about $2.60 ish left in the day, and that's just average. So it might not actually hit. It might not hit 1882 today. Probably take another day. And obviously, it's got to break this zone. You can see it's actually more significant on this 4-hour level. This 4-hour time frame, you can see all the wicks in this area. So you can see it's starting to touch. So this area is significant, so we'll see if it can break it. I do think it will. I think it'll hit 1882 and really target that pivot point. It's still way below this 4-hour moving average, so it's got lots of room to fill there. But you can see it's really set up here. So you got higher highs, higher lows. It's usually 3-wave corrective. So you can see 1, 2. This might be the 3rd wave here. So there might not be much of a. If this is wave 1, pulled back, wave 2, pulled back, this is wave 3, from here to here. You might not get much of a pullback here, and so therefore these resistance lines, this 4-hour one is significant. So yeah, you might not get any pullback, and because this candle was so bullish here, you might not get no pullback. Although this 4-hour candle is closing in 35 minutes, so it might retest this 1869 price, and then that would kind of be your entry for the day. As long as it starts to reject, then you could target 1882. So that is what I see happening here. And then, you know, into next week. So let's just say that this plays out perfectly. We'll clean these up. just looking ahead here, and obviously we don't know anything until next week comes, and you know this week obviously has to close. But if we clean up these zones here and we just take a look, if we adjust these pivot points, so we have last week's pivot points as well here, you can see they are getting lower. So and obviously gold was very bearish. It's been lower lows, lower highs for a while now. But if price breaks this pivot point and then finds any sort of support above it, then might not be looking for shorts too soon. If the dollar index keeps pulling down, then this will keep shooting up. So just depends on how much the dollar index really wants to move down. And but as of right now, I do think that like this is a primary zone to short this, as long as you get the right price action in this area. But if it breaks this area, and if price creates a higher pivot point, the last handful of weeks, I mean, you've had lower pivot points. And that's just a key element. So if you get pivot points, for example, if they are lower every week, then that means price is trending down, and vice versa. If pivot points are higher every week, then their price is moving up. So but if we do get a higher pivot point next week, then I mean that might tell us that next week might want to be still bullish. So your main areas though, as far as like retracements and where price might move to, obviously the main one is just the 50% 618 area. So you can see there's just a lot of support and resistance in this area. It's a high liquidity zone. So we'll delete that, and you can just see like this is really our main area that we're looking at price to go to. Then obviously like there is these more micro areas, which I do think is where price will actually go to, but just your main overall price area is right here. So I do see price hitting this area, and then I think 1882 is the most highly probable situation, but it might continue up and it might start testing these higher ones. Might test this previous S1 line here at 1894. So you know, might push a little bit more than 1882, might push, you know, closer to 1900 and sell off, and might retest these prices here. That's only if it breaks that zone, right? And this zone is so significant, this one. So would have to break this in order to hit this one. I don't think that'll happen, and I do think gold is still bearish for a while. I think the dollar is really in demand, so I think there is some conflicting data though, because we are in uncertain economic times. So there's a chance that gold will gain value as well because of that. So we really just have to go week by week, day by day, and really analyze gold, because things can change so fast. And gold is a storage of wealth, and it is good during high inflation times and uncertain economic times, but you can't eat it. It's not really good for ammunition, so I mean it's just really expensive, heavy. But yeah, that's my take on gold for the week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.